Welcome back to our next panel discussion on state of development. I have the pleasure of inviting Dr. V.N. Alok, who is a professor and expert of public finance at Indian Institute of Public Administration and has been a member of the 5th Delhi Finance Commission and contributed to nearly all successive federal finance commissions and state finance commissions in different capacities since 1995. He's also conceptualized the Devolution Index, the first in the country, and constructed it annually for the Government of India during 2009 and 14. He is going to be moderating the next panel discussion on the state of development. With this, I hand over the mic to Professor Alok.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gulsharan, for having invited me here in this convening that is being organized under the SKOCH 78th round state of governance. We have an excellent panel, as you can see. We have two officers from Odisha. They will be joining perhaps shortly. I could not really see them here on this picture. Professor Ujjwal Biswas, I can see you there, right? And Shri Pankaj Kamliya from Gujarat. We will be talking about the corporate social responsibilities. And there is a gentleman from Assam, I believe, right? The gentleman from Assam. Dr. Gulsharan is.
Yeah, he's online.
Okay. Yes, sir. So Ms. Ranjana Chopra, she has just joined. I can see you here, member of our distinguished Indian Administrative Service. And then you will be joined by another distinguished member of your service, Mr. Vashisht, I believe. He will be joining soon. Mm-hmm. So we will be in the next 1 hour or so, we'll be talking about the development status and where we are going to go from here in the states and in the country as a whole. As we all know, India is my throat is not all that good. I'm really a suspect for the Omicron. Unless the report comes in the evening, so I have a little bit of fever. So please excuse me for that. But you are safe because we are talking from a distance. So the state is the place where you have to take the initiatives for the development. Gone are those days when the union government was taking the call and the states were supporting. That's I think when we got the independence in the 1950, our development strategy was a little different. We have 56% that the agriculture was contributing to the national income, and just about 20% was coming from the service sectors. This things has changed completely. Now 54% is coming from the service sectors and 29% is coming from the agriculture and others. You know, we economists, we talk about this Simon Kuznets hypothesis. When the country grows, it goes from the agriculture to industry. As a corollary of industrializations, the service sector grows. But India has actually discarded Kuznets theorem, and we move right from agriculture to service sectors. The growth strategies of different states are very different. Some states which rely on agriculture, their growth is low. Some states which are relying more on the service sector, the growth is faster. And I could see the very interesting descriptions about the sessions, and there is an emphasis on I could see that the capacity of the states to absorb the credit That has been mentioned there in the description of the sessions. So when we talk about the absorption of the credit there in the states, we generally have one indicator, what we call it a credit deposit ratio. The states which are representing here, particularly Odisha and others, is not really known for its high credit deposit ratio. It's just about 42% or so. Gujarat is certainly very high, always been higher. You have been getting investments along with Maharashtra. When we see the Ministry of Industries, that kind of data, and of late, Odisha is also getting some investments proposals. Andhra Pradesh, we do have representation from Andhra Pradesh. Surprisingly, their credit deposit ratio is 129%. How can that be? Which means there is a capital flight from one state to another. That is also the central idea of this particular sessions. Particularly, what the Prime Minister has been talking about is cooperative federalism. Cooperative federalism between the union and the states, and competitive federalisms, that you compete with each other. We do have a friend from Jammu and Kashmir, which is coming up, which is now become a union territory from the states. Your credit deposit ratio has to be low, but it's very high compared to the kind of industrialization that is taking place. It's about 46% or so. So just with this kind of background, I'll just have a very quick round, all of you. Maybe we can start from Ms. Chopra, Ms. Ranjana Chopra, about your states, the point that I mentioned and some of the points that you'd like to add in this. So maybe 2-3 minutes or so, whatever time initially. Over to you, madam.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon to all the panelists, the moderator, and everyone else who's connected in the webinar today. I think very interesting points have been thrown up by Professor Alok in his inaugural comments, and the description that has been given alongside this webinar is also very interesting. But quickly, as an introduction to what I think we may discuss later during the panel, is the point that I would like to make, that as far as governance paradigm is concerned, there can't be one set solution. So each community, each state, because we are so different, India is a large country. Within the country, the states are at different levels of human development index. The states are at different levels of economic development. States are at different levels of gender empowerment. There can't be one solution that fits all. So each of the state governments and the state societies have to come up with their own solutions, which are customized to the context that they are growing in. And the second point, I think, which is very, very relevant to today's discussion, is that the government, with the best of its intention, would have a limited outreach. Now, I represent the tribal community of Odisha. We are 23% of the total population of the state. And the tribal community, as you would all appreciate, is the most vulnerable. This is the community which has, at this point of time, the lowest literacy, the lowest indices as far as food and nutrition is concerned. So in case we want to improve the standards in general, this community would require a special focus. So when we look at these societies and vulnerable communities, then the point that is very important for us to understand is that the government will definitely need to collaborate with grassroots organizations, with civil society organizations, to improve its outreach and also to remove the information asymmetry that exists between the government players and the societies, who are at this point of time the most important stakeholders. So with these two limited points, I would like to pass on the baton to the next panelist, and I think I will like to come and elaborate these points as we go on in this panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Human development is extremely important, and you do have considerable tribal population there in Odisha, and that you have to take into considerations. Yes, we do agree that the the style of development of each state is very different. Kerala is different. Karnataka is different from Kerala, and that's what it is. So now from Odisha, if you do not really have to be here in this, then we can perhaps move to Gujarat, which is always there in the forefront, so far as the development activities are concerned, so far as the industrialization is concerned, so far as even the community development is concerned, right? So over to you, Mr. Kamliya.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Alok. And thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to share our views. Actually, first of all, I would like to convey thanks to SKOCH management. And we are actually thrilled and too much because out of the 7 applications what we made to SKOCH, 6 applications have been considered out of it. It is certification that we are the state where innovations are promoted, experiments are promoted, and we seeing corporate social responsibility fund. It's one of its unique kind of authority set up by the state government in 2015, wherein we are trying to support the corporates who are actually investing in Gujarat in CSR projects. We are trying to build sort of like support mechanism for the state PSUs, for the national PSUs who are actually wanting to invest in CSR project in a manner wherein we ensure the result, wherein we document the learning out of like the project execution, what sort of challenges. So very interesting theme I got from this panel discussion, that what are the challenges we are facing. If we see the CSR as an investment channel, and we are seeing that like as a nation, we see almost 18,000 crore we are investing every year on CSR projects. And Gujarat contributes almost 1,000 crore. To channelize this investment in an effective manner, to build a solution of our conventional problem, we are trying to conceptualize various projects here. So if I would like to narrate the list of the projects what we have in the bucket, like almost 70 plus projects we are implementing, and all the projects, each and every project is talking about the solution. So one or two I'll mention specifically, like we have developed a solar based machine hole cleaning robot, which is one of its kind. It's solar operated machine hole robot, which we have developed using the CSR funds from one of the state PSU. Now we are implementing for our municipal corporation. We have also tried implementing single window system for channelizing government benefits of 28 plus scheme to the rural people in Gujarat, utilizing the CSR funds. So all of the CSR projects. So the whole context, what I would like to mention here, that the CSR fund can be utilized to upgrade and improve the situation of the rural people by utilizing in a very intelligent manner, and ensuring that each and every rupee we are getting returns on each and every rupee what we are investing in the field. So we are repairing the check dams so that farmers can get appropriate water availability while they are planting their second crop in the difficult areas of the state. We are also putting some investment on creating new models that we can issues nutrition in far-flung areas of the state. So this panel gives us an opportunity to share strategy more, but considering the limited time available with us, I now request another panel member to share their views, and if I get the chance, I'll go more on details on the project. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamliya, for sharing your views. Is there any thrust areas on which these CSR activities is to be on this?
Yeah, we are actually focusing on special children, nutrition, sanitation as a model. We are trying to create sort of like a revenue generation based model on community sanitation. So we created restroom complexes in cities of Gujarat, wherein one-time capex is invested by CSR donor, and the restroom complexes now operating basis on their revenue generation. They are providing tea, coffee vending machines. They are using their other revenue generation streams. So we are working on like revenue generation models wherein we can make sustainable all these projects, and we are ensuring that this project should not have a regular sort of state exchequer burdens on our authority. So this sort of investment we are making.
Thank you, Mr. Kamliya. We can now move to Andhra Pradesh. Mr. Imtiaz is here, I can see, who is the Chief Executive Officer, Society for Elimination of Rural Poverty. extremely important area that you're working on. Most people have been working on removing the poverty for the last about 50 years or so. We would like to hear your experience on this.
Yes. Good afternoon, Professor Alok, and good afternoon to all the participants. Yes, as the nation is singing Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we are still battling to reduce the poverty and also try to bring this dichotomy levels which is where rich is existing on the poor. So this kind of thing we want to remove. We have been there as a Society for Elimination of Rural Poverty, which is equivalent to SRLM in many states. AP has been in the forefront of women empowerment, especially social and financial. And this last 2 decades, there has been a lot of self-help group movement strengthening that has happened in the state. And today, we stand to have around 87 lakh women forming the 8.47 lakh groups in the rural areas. So this and all these women have been provided bank linkage of various sorts, and they have been given a lot of livelihood activities, promotion is taken up, and all this has happened. And it is worthwhile to note that the recovery rate is a very healthy 99.2%, which means that NPAs are less than 1%, which is all the more creditable. And apart from the central government schemes like National Rural Livelihood Mission and other activities, state government has been taking up many activities. And this year we have applied for certain 3 categories in from our SERP. That is, one is YSR Cheyuta, other is YSR Asra, and another is a activity which was taken up lockdown for providing livelihood to the women. Here actually just giving financial assistance to women was not seen as an answer. We wanted to link that financial assistance to some kind of creation of sustainable livelihood, something that would not less than 10,000 rupees additional income generated to each of the beneficiary. So what we did was this a very novel scheme called YSR Cheyuta. We had the government announced that age group of 45 to 60, the women falling in this age bracket, who are found to be more socially responsible, having a lot of responsibilities, and also productive age, were belonging to SC, ST, BC minority communities, were sought to be given 75,000 rupees in 4 installments in 4 years, spread across 4 years, 18,750 each year. But it was just not a DBT transfer to their bank accounts. All the women, 24 lakh women who were the beneficiaries, were asked to give their options of livelihood, whether they would opt for retail, whether they would opt for livestock, whether they would opt for handicrafts, whether they would opt for handlooms. All these were collected, and government entered, SERP entered into an MOU with many of the MNCs like Procter & Gamble, ITC, Agio, Reliance, and many social enterprise organizations like Tanager, GVK, and we had companies, various companies like Kalgodi, and all these companies, about 13 companies, we entered into an MOU with them. And all these options of women which were taken, we provided all these capacity building sessions along with the vendors. And it is just not like Procter & Gamble or ITC or Reliance just having another retailer in their one of the villages. We ensured that they get more than the normal margin which is given to a lowest level supply chain mechanism person in that SCM. So we ensured that these women directly apply, and our staff helping them. They were given vendor codes, they were given all kinds of support, and then we saw to it that in many areas, at least last year, we ensured that more than 3 lakh women could get a sustainable livelihood with more than some cases more than 15,000-20,000 rupees per month, getting additional income. What they were getting in addition to that, they were getting all this. So this was done, and some very these social enterprise organizations, which were our partners, have gone ahead in many areas, both farm and non-farm. Like one example is Tanager company. This enterprise organization, what they did was in tribal areas, people were cultivating cashew nut and they were wasting cashew nut apple. So we started a plant there with cashew apple value addition plant. So they got syrup, cashew apple syrup, cashew apple soda, and since they had back-to-back and tie up with companies like Walmart and Cargill and all, so this marketing was possible. So this kind of value addition activities were taken up, and many women beneficiaries were actually benefited to a great extent. And this year we are targeting not less than 6 to 7 lakh women to have a lot of livelihood activities. Especially Agio has come up with this textile and other retail outlets being opened in this. And also we are also having tie up with companies like Nine, where we want to even have sanitary napkins also supplied across these JaKeGA stores at a yes.
We can take this detail. Very interesting, of course it is.
Yeah.
Is it this emphasis is largely on the women employment?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But why not the employment of all the why only women employment?
See, the organization deals with mainly.
Your organization deal with that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, exactly.
Rural women.
Okay, okay. Before we move to Mr. Amit Sharma and Professor Biswas, I would request Ms. Ranjana or Mr. Kamliya or anybody for that matter if you have any question to Mr. Imtiaz, because this is the area everybody is concerned, every state is concerned about eliminating rural poverties. If you can raise your questions a little later, and I can sort of request Mr. Amit Sharma to make his initial remarks. Are you there, Mr. Sharma? Or Mr. Imran Sufi?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here, very much here.
Okay. From Jammu and Kashmir, IT department.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
Right.
Sir, should I begin?
Maybe I can request Mr. Amit Sharma. He's there.
Maybe he's here. Basically, he was traveling to some.
Okay.
Place.
Must his picture was
I am not
somebody
sure
else's city. Okay.
Yes, I'm not sure whether he is available or not. But if you can give me a moment, I can confirm it, sir.
No, you can carry on, Mr. Sufi.
Okay. Fine, sir. Sir, I will be briefing the panel on two projects. One is the online application for availing the domicile services, and other one is Awam Ki Awaaz project, sir. First, I will brief on the project domicile application. Sir, as all of you are aware that post bifurcation of Jammu and Kashmir, erstwhile state, the permanent resident certificate was applicable in the Jammu and Kashmir for the citizens of J&K. Post bifurcation of J&K into Union Territory, an SO was introduced by the government, in which it was mandated that the competent authorities will issue the domicile certificates to different categories of the applicants. As an IT department, our challenge was that we were supposed to introduce the electronic mechanism so that citizens can avail these services seamlessly. Keeping into consideration at that time the COVID scenario and many other challenges like IT readiness in the state, and this was a little bit sensitive issue. IT department took the challenge, sir, under the chairmanship of our Principal Secretary, Shri Vipul Pathak ji, and we got this application developed in a record time of 20 days. We successfully conducted its user acceptance testing, then security audits subsequently, and then we were able to host the application. Then finally, Honorable Lieutenant Governor inaugurated it formally in the month of, I think, June, July, sir. Through this application, sir, applicant can apply for the domicile application anytime, anywhere. Earlier, what used to happen was that, sir, they for getting this service, it was mandatory that the applicants will visit the competent authority offices, and then there was long queues, a lot of process hurdles, as usually happening in the government department since we are working in so keeping all those things into consideration, sir, this whole process was made seamless. Applicant now was able to apply online. He was now able to receive the electronically signed domicile certificate online. He was now able to file the appeal if he had some grievances with respect to the non-issuance of the domicile certificate. He can apply to the first appellate authority, which in this case is the concerned district collector. On top of this, sir, we made, for monitoring purpose, we made 20 dashboards and one centralized dashboard for the Honorable Lieutenant Governor, through which we analyze different categories, we analyze the traffics, and we analyze the rejection rate, acceptance rate, issuance of the domicile certificate to various applicants. One more thing, sir, I would like to add in this discussion is that since one part of the whole process was achieved successfully, wherein we issue the domicile certificates to the applicants. Another challenge was that once we issue the electronic certificate to the applicants, how would applicant or how would any user agency wherein this applicant is submitting his domicile application, maybe like university or some recruiting agency. So what is the process for them to get this, to ascertain the genuineness of this electronically generated certificate? So we developed a mechanism based on the emerging technology blockchain, wherein we developed a web service, a centralized web service, and then that service was integrated with all the interesting agencies. In our case, it was Public Service Commission, SSRB, universities. Wherever the applicant submits this electronically generated certificate, the user department can automatically authenticate the generated application, sir. So this is the whole brief about the processes of the domicile application, sir. So this is it, sir, with respect to domicile.
Thank you, Mr. Sufi.
Very good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So I'm Naveed, representing from J&K government as well.
On
yes,
behalf
of Amit Sharma. Yes, sir.
Good.
And I will be touching two more projects that have been nominated. These are digital village centers and e-office.
Is your sorry to interrupt? Is your bandwidth is not that good, so that your camera be on?
Yeah, sure, sir. Sure, sir. Very good afternoon, sir. Yeah. Actually, I'm right now in Srinagar, where you have a continuous snowfall going on from last couple of days, and we are expecting a more heavy snowfall within next 2 days. So you can see all the jackets and in the small rooms in the office sitting right now, chilling this chilling weather. Very good afternoon again to the panel. Should I start, sir, with your consent?
Sir, if we can begin with the question and answer session, please, sir.
So additionally, so should I agree for the DVC or we?
No, you can carry on.
Sure, sir. Thank you. So the digital village centers in J&K, we started at Conceived because we talked all about the services, providing the citizens at the grassroots level. So what was the motto? That we should reach really with those services to the villages where actually the whole civilization resides. We wanted that a person living even in the far-flung area of Gurez, Tulel, the border areas, should able to, we are talking about right now about technology, about services, making things online, but for whom? For citizens, the people, but how to give these services to the people. So what we conceive that we know that in J&K, we have far-flung areas where we don't have internet services in border areas of Kupwara, Gurez, Tulel, Rajouri, Poonch, and people were not having enough equipments to use and avail these services. So what J&K government under able leadership of Secretary Sir and other people conceived, Chief Secretary Sir was very much interested in these things. So it was specially
Secretary Mr. Mehta.
Mr. Mehta, Mr. Mehta, Mr. Subramaniam, sir, there was at that time. So they conceived that they should actually, Mr. Mehta was a financial commissioner at that time. So was the chief secretary, and now Mr. Mehta is the chief secretary. He is very particular about this digital place centers. So these digital place centers were conceived under able guidance of Mr. Mehta only, because he was at that time we have started back to a program back to villages, with the mission back to villages, where very senior officers, even secretary level officers used to visit villages, see the problems there, and get back to them with a solution. This was the major concern raised by the people there, that we don't have enough facilities to avail these online services. So under leadership of Sir, we conceived this project, Digital Village Center, wherein these projects were provided with computer, MPLS connectivity, an LED TV, and other facilities, so that all the people living in these villages can go to these digital village centers, which were particularly established in Panchayat Ghars. Panchayat Ghars were used where these centers were created, so that they can avail all these facilities. To provide Wi-Fi access was provided to all the students. Interactive teachings were provided. What exact equipment were provided were video conference equipment, desktop computer, inverter with backup, MPLS connectivity, and access points for Wi-Fi connectivity. So what was the benefits was that video conference equipment at these DVC centers help that a person sitting in a Gram Panchayat can talk to a chief secretary or director in his office from his very Gram Panchayat. That really reduce his travel time, expenses coming to these offices and all these. Then LED TV with internet facilities were provided for healthy entertainment services and socially meaningful movies, live streaming of matches, and telemedicine services. Free internet was provided to students for various educational activities, and MPLS connectivity through these devices can enable bring e-office to the Panchayat level. Let me come to the other project, e-office, that is there panel. You know, in J&K, we had 2 summer capitals. The capital switched from Srinagar to Jammu, and then from Jammu to Srinagar. For 6 months, the summer capital was Srinagar, and then for 6 months, it was Jammu. The entire machinery used to shift from Srinagar to Jammu, from Jammu to and then back to Srinagar, incurring lot of expenditures all over. So with advent of this e-office, this all was overcome. These expenditures were overcome, and then there was computers involved, movement of files involved, movement of even people and families involved, that was restricted and overcome by using of e-office, making the offices paperless. Right now, our entire civil secretariat is working paperless using e-office, and more than 200 outside offices are working on e-office right now. So these are the other 2 projects, DVC, Digital Village Centers, and e-office.
How strong the Gram Panchayats are there in Jammu and Kashmir?
So right now, from last many years, Panchayats have become very strong now, especially from last 5 years. There are Panchayats, there are BDOs, there are BDC chairmans who have been elected now, and Panchayats have become a very much functional. People are going to Panchayats with their problems and grievances and getting those resolved.
Okay, we'll come back to this a little later.
Sure, sir.
But Before that, we have a last panelist to speak, make an initial remark, Professor Biswas, who works in a very interesting area. That's on the animal and fishery sciences. So over to you, Professor Biswas. Ujjwal, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Dr. Guho, Dr. Sanchal Guho, now he is the Vice Chancellor of our university. I am presenting a very interesting project, that is the development of live attenuated thermostable lantogenic strain Newcastle disease vaccine, that is local isolates. That is a Newcastle disease, that is a highly devastating disease of avian sectors. That cause huge economic loss by high morbidity, huge production loss, and high mortality. The causative agent is paramyxovirus type 1 serotype. And this paramyxovirus type 1 serotype having 5 pathotypes. Among these 5 pathotypes, viscerotropic velogenic Newcastle disease virus and neurotropic velogenic Newcastle disease virus are highly virulent. It causes 90 to 100% mortality in avian sectors, in poultry sectors. We know these poultry sectors give us the high economy along with the main source of egg and meat. So to save the farmers, to save the economic loss of the farmers, if we prevent the Newcastle disease in the nature, so the farmers will be benefited. So the economy of our nation, not only of our nation, that is a problem of all DOIs. So economy of the international in case of farmers, in case of that means livestock owner, especially the poultry owner, they will become benefited. So this highly virulent organism, as per the report of FAO, as per the report of OIE, near about 20% of the world country, there is highly prevalence of viscerotropic velogenic and neurotropic velogenic Newcastle disease virus that cause 100% mortality. Okay, so if we save that very economic loss of the farmer, so the farmer will be benefited. And the vaccination is the most effective means of controlling that very Newcastle disease. Vaccination, and that has been practiced from 1994, 1940. So, but nowadays, the vaccine that are available in our country or in abroad, all are the thermolabile vaccine. Thermolabile vaccine, that means for storage of that very vaccine, cold chain maintenance is most important. And during vaccination, during transit period from the storage house to the farmer's door, cold chain maintenance is most important. If there is any breakage in cold chain during transit period, the vaccine virus will be killed or died, and the vaccine will be less efficacious or no efficacious. So on this aspect, if we develop a thermostable vaccine, that will be benefited to the farmer, that will save the poultry sectors, avian sectors.
Thank you, Professor Biswas, for your very initial remark. Very interesting. Now, we are now moving into the questions that the SKOCH has mentioned, which is related to how we are going to improve the social and economic status of the communities. You know, our constitution, it talks about social justice and economic development of the people or the communities as such. I understand that you are quite thick and thin with the sector you are dealing with. But as an enlightened civil servant, as an enlightened policymakers of your state, because you do have the insights of your state as such, you can just tell us that what are those 3 to 5 areas on which the government or the society has to work on, and what are the challenges that will come, in order to achieve that. Before you get into this, I'm curious to know from Ms. Chopra. There is a newspaper item. I don't know whether you are dealing with that or not. Is about the panchayat elections. So the tribal community was raising some demand, because some districts are in the scheduled areas and some districts partly in scheduled areas or not. So are you dealing with that, or you're not dealing with that?
Professor Alok, before I answer your question, one quick clarification. The purpose of this panel discussion, is it general in nature, or are we expected to talk about the initiatives for which we have submitted our application?
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Very pertinent questions. Since this is the panel and the title here is the focus on development, and you have already made some remarks about the sector that you are working on. So we are now getting into a general discussions in this.
Fair enough.
Right?
Fair enough. Now, just to answer...
Right. Yeah, and you being a civil servant, you work from one department to another department. So you must be having insights of all the departments for that matter.
Yeah. So just to answer the question you have raised very quickly, at this point of time, Odisha, we are gearing ourselves for the panchayat elections. And with experience from Odisha, let me assure all of you that in Odisha, the decentralization process has been carried out both in letter and spirit. We are very proud of the fact that the Panchayati Raj institutions are very strongly grounded in our state, and a lot of the activities of the government and directly concerned with primary governance, whether it is primary education or primary health, as per the spirit of the 73rd and 74th Amendment, have actually been passed on and delegated to the rural Panchayati Raj institutions and the urban local bodies. So now, as we are gearing ourselves for the panchayat elections, the news item that you're raising is that there is a very important task which happens before elections, and that is the delimitation of the constituencies, or the declaration as to which ward or from which constituency SC or ST candidate will be sponsored. So the news item that you are referring to actually pertains to some issue within a district where they did not agree with the collector's demarcation of the SC and the ST constituency, right? So in this case, the mandate is that in Odisha, we have 23% of tribal community, we have 16.5% of scheduled caste communities, and hence all the panchayat seats have to be divided in this proportion. So 23% should be in favor of STs, 16.5% in favor of SCs. And in Panchayat, you would be interested to know that in Odisha, we have overall, as part of our horizontal reservation, we have 50% of the seats are meant for women.
Oh, yes.
So this is answering the question that you raised related to the news item, but very quick, because there are very enlightened panelists with us today. So I won't take too much of time, but just 2-3 quick, pointers as to when you say development, what do we understand by development? So as far as we are concerned in Odisha, our government actually is giving a lot of thrust development. And when we say holistic, we are not only looking at economic development, but we're also looking at social development. And as social development, 2 important cogs of social development are education and health. A lot of work has been done in education, and in Odisha very recently, what we have now finished, we have initiated is the task of transformation of all our high schools. 10,000 high schools of the state of Odisha, 10,000 government and government aided high schools have now been converted into smart schools. So 3 classrooms have been given the smart technology fitted with the relevant hardware. An appropriate atmosphere, enabling atmosphere has been created in the high school campus. Beautiful e-libraries have been set up. And today we are very confidently, we are able to boast that our average government high school is much better in infrastructure and hardware facility as compared to the private sector high schools. And this initiative has been coupled with the capacity building, recruitment, and training of the teachers. As far as health sector is concerned, we have been able to converge very successfully the 3 streams as mandated by Government of India and Honorable Prime Minister, the 3 streams of allopathy, Ayurveda, and homeopathy. So in our health institutions, we are not only promoting allopathy, that definitely remains the mainstay, but we also are having wellness centers attached to all our health facilities in which we are promoting Ayurveda, yoga, and homeopathy. And you would all be aware that when the entire country was starving and gasping for oxygen, Odisha was one of the few states which was surplus in medical oxygen, and we were supplying medical oxygen to the early states. And even now, the kind of shoring up of supply of medical oxygen that has been done by the health department is keeping in mind that we are not only having enough for our state supply, and when we are saying enough for our state supply, we are actually taking the peak demand of the second wave as our base indicator. Basing on that, we are also trying to have surplus so that we can help our neighbors and the other states would require this important facility. So these are the 2 verticals on which the state government is giving a lot of importance as far as social development is concerned. And in economic development, there are 2 things that we are focusing all across the departments, whether it is agriculture, my department of ST&SC, the other departments. We are talking of 2 things in the same breath. We are talking of livelihood promotion and generation, and we are talking of skill development. We have launched a very ambitious skill development mission where we are saying that we should be able to supply adequate skilled staff, adequate skilled personnel to the industries that are growing. And we are in fact, incidentally, the colleague from Gujarat was mentioning about the CSR and investment that Gujarat is drawing. You would be surprised to know that last year, in the year 21-22, Odisha got the highest investment in the country. The industrial investment was highest in the state of Odisha. So to promote the ancillary industry, we are making sure that we have an adequate supply and a resource pool of skilled manpower. So the skilling initiative is happening, and at the same time, livelihood generation also, whether it is in the agriculture sector. And we are also giving a lot of importance to our women entrepreneur, like the colleague, SRLM colleague from Andhra was mentioning. In Odisha, 75 lakh women have been organized in 6 lakh self-help groups under Mission Shakti program, and all these groups have been credit linked. Now, besides that, our MSME, also we have a very, very ambitious startup policy, which is a notified startup policy in the state. 4 areas, in fact, in the last 4 years, as startups have actually become unicorns in the last couple of years. And an average, the startups, we are incubating about 85 startups at this point of time in our startup hub. So livelihood generation and skill development are the 2 activities that are focus sectors as far as the government is concerned towards economic development. Thank you.
Madam, I'm not surprised at all, because if you remember, I made in my initial remark that Gujarat, that Odisha of late has been receiving investments next to Gujarat, not number 1, next to Gujarat. Okay. Gujarat up to October 2021, 34%, right? And Odisha, 22%, right? And then comes Maharashtra, that is 12%, right? So, and I was surprised. I think there is not many investment. There is one big investment that has come to Odisha. That has increased. That we are not getting into that. But I believe that in Odisha, you have your income distribution is very skewed. You have huge poverty. Your per capita income is low. So there are lots of challenges there with the governance. How you remove the poverty. You have lots of districts, which we call it a red districts, right? So governance issues are there in place, and that must be posing a lot of challenges before civil servants like you. But thank you so very much for
Professor Alok. Just one quick comment before I pass on the baton to the next panelist. In fact, the poverty parameters in Odisha seem to be high because we also started from a very low base. So that is a challenge, and whether it is the MPI or the SDG, that is a challenge, and we are now strategizing as to how to overcome that. But the fact remains that we don't have governance challenges. Governance is one area where it is completely smooth and streamlined. Odisha, the state of Odisha, the governance is completely streamlined. So we may have other challenges by way of having a very large vulnerable population, geographically difficult area, some areas which are Naxal infected, but we do not have governance challenges in our state.
Right. I agree with you. When we were working on industry, the political stability is a very big factor to woo the industry, and which is there in Odisha. So with this note, I now move to Mr. Kamliya. What you wanted to say about the Gujarat is a rich state. Its community is very different. It's a business community as such. You have the Amul kind of innovations there. And so what you think about Gujarat, Mr. Kamliya?
Thank you, Professor Alok. I would like to again mention, like we are aligned with our Vibrant Gujarat Summit coming 3 days, 10th, 11th, 12th, we are having our Vibrant Gujarat. Again, lots of investments like companies who are existing investment in Gujarat are actually wanting new JVs. So everything in a massive stage is coming, and state government, the whole machinery is there. We are working very extensively on that investment. And the another part, like the specifically the business community, which you have mentioned rightly, that here the welfare and the CSR is like a practice well before the CSR rules was in practice. So here the institution which was created long back before 2014 also created in such a manner that they are.
We have lost connections from Mr. Kamliya.
There is one comment, if Professor Alok, if I may make.
Then maybe we can move to Mr. Imtiaz for.
Am I audible? Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Professor Alok? Yeah. In fact, this is quite an interesting discussion on development, and it has got several aspects to it. While it is a discussion and debate, at nowhere are we trying to make any attempt to say that you haven't done well on one count while the other state may have. It's not a comparison, right? So what I would like to make clear is that we are interested in finding out as to what kind of progress that has been made, what have been the challenges, and how is it that you have overcome, so that there could be a common learning for other stakeholders, whether it is the state of Odisha. Nobody is challenging the governance. Rather, I would say that it has tremendously improved over a period of time. And the state is doing quite well. And where it was on the development indicators maybe 5 to 7 years ago, it has dramatically changed. So is the situation in Andhra Pradesh when we talk about Society for the Elimination of Rural Poverty. The status of the economic status of women has so much altered over last 7 to 8 years. It is an example for the world community, and so is the challenges which are faced by Jammu and Kashmir. They are their own. And coming to the Gujarat CSR Authority, I've had an opportunity to look into as to what they have been doing. A lot of small and medium, even for that matter, those kind of enterprises, who would like to contribute, but they do not have a way. So a common fund by Gujarat CSR Authority has been made, wherein nearly 70 to 80 crores have been collected and is being deployed back into the development of the downtrodden communities. It's one of its kind which has been created in the country. So similarly, whether it is the animal and fishery sciences or anything else that's happening, these are such beautiful examples of development, which probably are not known to anyone. And SKOCH as a platform has known to bring all those best practices together. And such beacons of hope, there is always a learning for everyone to take care and learn from. Over to you, Professor Alok.
Thank you, Dr. Gusharan, for your comments. Yes, certainly that is there. In fact, I have a list of the achievements of what the Odisha have achieved. In fact, how you deal with pandemic, that's something that someone can write a case study, So lots of cases, and that need to be documented. And I compliment the SKOCH that they are doing that. So Kamliya Saab, we will come back a little later. Let's move to Mr. Imtiaz first, right?
Yes. Sir, now coming to development aspect, I think there are broadly social and economic. There are two aspects of development mainly. And social, I would say, last 2.5 years, as I was district magistrate for a big district, and I could see that the kind of emphasis that was laid on education and health really paid off. I was heading a district of Krishna, which is having already, which was having a population of around 5 million. So therein I could see that the emphasis and the infrastructure creation that was done in especially primary and secondary education paid off. And there was a scheme called Nadu Nedu, Kal or Aaj. So wherein certain 1/3 schools were selected and for each year, and their infrastructure was changed. And within 2 years period of time, we could see that the number of students coming to government schools now has increased so much that we needed to have additional classrooms in many of the schools. And
this is about the district that you were heading. That is the Krishna district. I believe you were district magistrate there.
Yeah.
Right.
Then about 3 months.
Right. If you don't mind, we can move to Mr. Kamliya first, right? Mr. Kamliya, for a minute or so, if you can sum up what you want to say. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Alok. Thank you. I hope I'm audible now.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So what, specifically what you have mentioned and what Nanjal Sahab has also mentioned, here, the CSR is in the blood and particularly in the DNA of the business community, because pre-CSR era initiatives, business communities has created institutions in Gujarat, and they are doing the welfare activities, everything before the CSR law came in picture. So the experiments, what we are trying to implement in having close tie-up and partnership with the business community to create solution of the conventional problem. So rightly, we are having our 7 thematic funds to get the donors attracted, the small and micro enterprises who are actually having trouble investing CSR. So we are trying to get on, so they can be a party and they can be a owner of a small size project within their vicinity where they are having their plants or they are having their factory or the community where they are accountable to. So with the help of a very small mechanism at the state level in form of Gujarat CSR Authority, we are trying to help the PSUs, trying to help the corporate, so that because in a state like Gujarat and the state like Maharashtra, the investment we are trying to have a type, multiple systems are there. But on CSR agenda, the companies are always here and there. There is no special branch or division or nothing is there at a state level. There is no mention of the state liability also in the law itself. But Gujarat has taken this initiative. Post Gujarat CSR authorities like Goa has taken this practice. Punjab is also the Punjab CSR authority. Haryana has also came to us, and they also try understanding the Gujarat model. We are open to everybody that whosoever wanting to come understand the model, because it's a very good and very innovative mechanism. Can raise and point out their issues. So thank you so much, Alok, and thank you, SKOCH again.
Thank you.
And we are thrilled actually to get 6 Order of Merit Award from SKOCH. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Before I request Mr. Amit Sharma, anybody wanted to ask any question to the fellow panelists about their states and other things? If not,
sir, I would just like to complete, sir.
Yes.
I would just like to complete. Okay, social development, as I was telling you, health and education. But then economic development, again, coming back to my now present assignment, I could see that many women were good in making food products like chickpeas and pickle. They were being sold across in many communities, but they did not have access to a bigger market. So now that last 3 months, we have done all these market linkages, and nearly 6,001 products, 139 products we have customized. And many of the women groups were involved in handicrafts known as Kondapalli ties and all this, but they did not have a bigger market. So this, I think, economic development hinges on making a bigger market for all the communities, all the people. I think that's where now we are seeing a lot of results, because when I want to send some pickle to somebody, I would not be buying it from a local market. I would be buying only a packed one with all that mentioned quality, nutritional values and all that. Now we are providing all these facilities to these women groups, and they're seeing the result. I think this will broadly apply to all economic development.
Okay, we are running short of time, so we just have about 2 minutes to go. So over to Mr. Amit Sharma about JNK.
Good afternoon again, sir. Amit sir is not here. Actually, he's traveling right now. So again, Naveed here representing sir. I'm Naveed, manager IT again, representing sir on behalf of Amit sir. So I would like to say that yes, JNK is also moving forward, doing their best to uplift the community as a whole and JNK state as well. JNK was ranked 21st in the fiscal year 2018 to 19 nationwide for ease of doing business ranking, so that we can have much more companies here coming here, opening their business, opening their centers, so that there will be development in this region as well. Recently, what best was a great initiative was taken by the government here, that we really had a summit, a real estate summit in 2021, where approximately 39 new MOUs have been signed, where new companies will be coming here, setting up their various hospitals, parks, IT infrastructure for the development of overall of the state.
Fantastic. Very good. Very good.
So,
Professor Biswas. Just about 30-40 seconds.
Okay.
That's why, knowing the time constant, I just restricted myself.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alok, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Alok. For development of the society, for development of the people, to some aspect, always we shall have to take care. One is the education sector, one is the social peace, social, and another is the that means health, all the aspect. And when we proceed with any aspect, there may be some challenge. If we overcome that very challenge, if we take the project to overcome that very challenge, so ultimately we may be overcome, we may be success.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir.
I do not really intend to summarize such a rich discussions that you all have presented. You all are very eminent panelists. Towards the end, I'm again thankful to SKOCH for having invited me. I'm deeply honored.
Ranjana ji's comments as well, concluding comments from her.
Over to you.
No. I think this has been a wonderful discussion, and I would also like to thank SKOCH for having given us this platform. And we in Odisha, all the departments, we're always very proud of our association with SKOCH, and I am personally very grateful because the 4 interventions and applications that I had made from my department all have been shortlisted for order of merit. And I just wish that SKOCH would continue to nudge us, because in the public ecosystem in India, there are very few institutions and platforms which are recognizing good governance and best practices. And SKOCH has over the years proven that it is a very credible institution, and it is a platform which we are very proud of associating with. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words.
On behalf of Government of J&K, I will also be thanking, and on behalf of Amit sir, I will be thanking you, all the panelists as well, and the SKOCH as well. I'm really sorry that Amit sir couldn't make it today because he had some very important meeting for today scheduled.
So, Dr. Dhanjal, we can.
Vote of thanks, a formal vote of thanks from my side to all the panelists for having a very enlivened discussion on the subject of development. Mr. Alok, thank you very much for moderating it. And once again, I would like to say that when we talk of development, there are several facets to it.
Bhushan, you are not audible to me.
Am I audible to others?
Now you are audible.
Okay. So as I said that, development has many facets, and a discussion of development is very difficult to keep it focused, because it has the, it can go in all directions, and keeping it bound and, staying focused on development it's a difficult task. So thank you all the panelists and our moderator, Professor V.N. Alok, for putting it together.